17-year-old girl who ran away, who wanted to live her own life.
What teenager planning to run away would ever leave their cell phone behind?
And obviously there was more to this story.
She just broke down crying. I just remember her saying she was scared.
The last place Alyssa Turney was seen was here at Paradise Valley High School.
My dad, obviously, being a cop, he knows what happens to teenage girls who go out alone. You know, he was really, really scared.
He seemed very driven by the situation. I gotta do this, I have to do this, I'm searching for this, I'm calling this person, I'm calling that person.
After a few years, did you begin to think she's not around? She's dead.
Yes, I began to fear the worst.
2020 has talked to Michael Turney about his missing stepdaughter over the course of decades now.
My last memory of someone you love stomping down the hallway.
And then you get a confession out of nowhere.
I'm gonna make you famous. I am a serial killer.
Stop! You're not welcome here.
I set foot on this dusty desert road between Phoenix and Los Angeles was 2009. I was reporting on a vibrant teenage girl named Alyssa Turney. She had disappeared in 2001, and to this day, some wonder if this unforgiving and lonely landscape might hold secrets of her fate.
17-year-old Alyssa Marie Turney was disappearance and presumed death of 17-year-old Alyssa Turney.
Alyssa Turney hasn't been seen in more than 7 years.
Just a bombshell arrest tonight, almost 20 years after Phoenix teen Alyssa Turney vanished.
My report on her case went on to have a life of its own.
This is the story of Alyssa Turney. Alyssa Turney.
Showing up in countless stories about Alyssa on the internet, in podcasts, and recently, it was even at the center of a trial aimed at answering once and for all what really happened to Alyssa. But before we tell you about that, let's go back to the place where it all started.
May 17th, 2001 was Alyssa's last day of her junior year in high school.
For a teenager, the last day of school is the best day ever. And in this case, it's a half day. Everyone is just saying goodbye and getting ready for the summer.
At some point, Alyssa pokes her head into her then boyfriend John Laxman's classroom. And she says, "My stepdad is picking me up early today from school."
She says, "Bye, I'll see you later." And then she gets in the car with her stepfather, Mike Turney.
The home videos, family photos, and recorded video from the Turney home that you're about to see were obtained by ABC News from police in 2009. They show Alyssa as a seemingly typical kid.
My name is Chris Ridenauer, and I worked with Alyssa at Jack in the Box for a couple months, and we were also friends.
What were your impressions of Alyssa?
She's kind of a free spirit. She's very genuine, very honest, really, really cool.
Alyssa was working as a cashier. She was a very reliable employee, never missed a shift. She was well liked by everybody there.
Two of Alyssa's closest friends sat down with ABC back in 2009.
Alyssa was very carefree. You never knew what was going to happen with her. She was very spontaneous. She would always think of something new to do, and it was never a boring moment. Never a boring moment with Alyssa.
Careful, don't jump on top of anybody, Alyssa.
For a little perspective, it's 2001. People are emailing each other using AOL.
You've got mail.
People have flip phones.
The number one video, The Real Slim Shady.
TRL is huge. Alyssa was spirited and fun, and she loved to party. She had a lot of friends. She had a boyfriend. Life for her was as typical as it could get for a 17-year-old.
Alyssa was incredibly social and just wanted to hang out with other people. She loved to draw. She liked to write.
She liked to write.
Yeah, she liked to just write out little notes and things like that.
So we have a little paragraph that she wrote. Would you read it to us?
Sure. I have many streaks of shade of color of hair, from blonde to dark brown. I like to go to the mall at Metro Center. In the mall, my favorite store is Hot Topic, of course. I love to hang out with my best friends Katie and Stacy. I like boys. I listen to heavy metal bands like Deftones, Korn, Marilyn Manson, Limp Bizkit. School is okay. I love kids. I want to have a lot of them. I like to go paintballing. I like my pants. I like candles. I have a lot of friends. I have very few enemies.
Sound like her?
Definitely. Yeah.
By all accounts, she was a very happy and radiant kid. She had a very bubbly personality, but was also really playful and mischievous.
Tell me about that day, May 17th, 2001. An important day for you?
Oh yeah, I was graduating. She expressed interest in wanting to come to the graduation, and that was the last I heard from her.
Michael Turney raised Alyssa after her mother passed away. When I spoke to him, he said he picked up Alyssa early from school and they had lunch. Their conversation turned into an argument, but he says it was just typical parent-child friction.
That morning, she was in good spirits.
Oh, she was. We were arguing that she only had one more year to go. Very proud that we'd accomplished it. We got lunch and came back. We were arguing over me scrutinizing her too much. She didn't like that.
What did you talk about at lunch?
Oh, what we're going to do that summer, some of the problems that we were concerned with. She wanted to be able to stay out later at night and go run with her friends wherever she wanted to and not be accountable to where she was at. And I told her that's just not going to happen with us. You know, as long as you're under my roof, we're going to have to check in with Daddy because Daddy's a nervous wreck if you don't.
How did she respond?
She said for the last year or so that she was ready to leave home. She wanted to go live somewhere else, and I didn't think she was ready. I didn't want her to. I wanted her to stay.
So she stormed away from you, went to her bedroom.
Yeah, basically that was it.
That was the last you saw of her.
Yeah, walking down the hallway mad like her hair flying behind her.
Michael says he runs errands. Later, he picks up Alyssa's younger sister, Sarah. She told ABC what she found when she got home that night.
My dad picked me up and said, "Your sister's not answering her cell phone. Will you try to call her?" And so we were just in the car calling. Got home, she wasn't there. You know, my dad was running through the house, seeing, if she was there. And then I found the note on top of the dresser.
A handwritten note left for both of them. And in this note, Alyssa says, "Dad and Sarah, when you dropped me off at school today, I decided that I really am going to California. Sarah, you said you didn't want me around. Look, you got it. I'm gone. That's why I saved my money. Dad, I took $300 from you. Alyssa."
Then we read the note, my heart just completely stopped.
It must have been terrifying for you.
Yeah. So I started, calling everybody I could call and telling them, look, we got a problem. We need to get everybody together now. We got to find Alyssa.
It didn't really appear like any of her belongings were missing. Her favorite clothes were still there, her jewelry, her makeup, her hairbrush, and most importantly, her cell phone.
What teenager planning to run away would ever leave their cell phone behind?
Did you call the police?
Eventually I did later on that night because she could have just gone somewhere and then we could find her real quick.
If she ran away, why wouldn't she take her cell phone?
That was the questions that we had. She didn't take her cell phone. She took limited amount of clothing. It's as though she left in a hurry.
It was scary. I didn't know where she was. She's always like, "I don't want to live here." I never thought she would do it. There's no way that she would not have contacted any of her friends.
There was some concern. You were thinking, what if something could have happened?
Cops probably get calls like that frequently.
And sometimes it's just that. The kid got PO'd at the parent and they took off. But obviously there was more to the story.
Just about 11 p.m. at night, Michael Turney called to let the police department know that his 17-year-old daughter had run away from home.
When there's a call from a parent saying, just talking about California, and I've got a note, this is a run-of-the-mill textbook example of a teenage kid who's run away. 99 times out of 100, that kid turns up within a couple of days.
We deal with runaways all the time, and missing persons. You get thousands of them every year.
So it was like 10,000 runaways in Phoenix?
Yeah, thousands and thousands.
If I had been that detective and I saw a 17-year-old who ran away on the last day of school, I'm assuming she's going to parties. I'm not going to be alarmed by that. When you present it as a 17-year-old runaway, that's how it's going to be handled.
The worst.
There are many endangerments out there that we are concerned with. Things like child sex trafficking, gang violence, drugs and alcohol abuse.
In a hostile environment like Arizona, somebody wandering off into the desert and surviving for any extended period of time, really at any time of year, is not very likely.
Michael Turney is determined to obtain a record of that phone call and actually sues the phone company. He sues Quest, and eventually they release the raw data.
Records reveal the 29-second call came from a payphone in Riverside, California. Remember, Alyssa's aunt, who lives just an hour from that payphone, had offered to take her in. Was Alyssa trying to make her way there?
Michael Turney goes to California, goes to the location of that phone booth, and he starts handing out these flyers with Alyssa's picture on it, trying to get information, but he doesn't find anyone who recalls seeing her at any point. So it's like another dead end.
All I thought was, she went to California for the summer, went with some friends, whatever, she'll be back. That's exactly what I thought. I hope that she made it to California. I hope that she made it to California in good circumstances and is happy but in my heart, I don't think she did. At some point, once we knew she was 18, that if Alyssa were able to, that she would have made some kind of contact with someone in our family. And we held on to that. We held on to that for that whole year, hoping that that's just what was going to happen.
The days turn to months, months turn into years. Her friends graduate, some of them move out of state. Some people start to think that maybe she really did get away. My dad, obviously, being a cop, he knows what happens to teenage girls who go out alone or whatever. So that's all that was going through his head. He was really, really scared.
You were basically handling the disappearance of your daughter alone.
Oh, yeah. With my background, I did most of the investigation. It's too expensive. I went through close to $20,000 looking for Alyssa. Wore out several vehicles.
Michael wants national attention on Alyssa's situation. Instead of a milk carton, Michael Turney convinces a NASCAR driver to put a photo of Alyssa's face on the hood of a race car.
We all thought it was good attention, like that. Dad's doing what he said he was going to do. He's reaching all out as far as he possibly can.
After a few years, did you begin to think she's not around? She's dead.
Yes, I began to fear the worst.
Even while allowing his worst fears to creep in, Michael Turney says he was still holding out hope that Alyssa could be alive. And so was the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
A photograph is one of the most powerful tools that we have to engage with the public. Below the age of 18, we do an age progression about once every 2 years, and then over the age of 18, we do an age progression about once every 5 years. That just gives us another opportunity every couple of years to re-engage with the media and remind the media, more importantly, that a child's still missing.
In 2006, in the USA Today newspaper, there was a portion that was dedicated to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And there was a time when Alyssa's picture was run with a blurb of information basically about when she disappeared.
Someone out there knows something.
Then a stunning admission from thousands of miles away gets the attention of Phoenix police.
An inmate in Florida who is a convicted murderer writes a letter.
And things started to develop in a different direction than we expected.
Are you the person who killed Alyssa?
It's been years now that Alyssa Turney is missing. Then in 2006, there is a convicted killer who says he knows what happened to Alyssa Turney.
In 2003, Thomas Heimer was found guilty of killing his travel companion in Florida. That case was pretty easy to solve, and he gets a life sentence. In 2006, Thomas Heimer starts reaching out to law enforcement agencies and saying, I'm going to make you famous. I am a serial killer.
He goes on to claim to have killed 20 or so different women throughout the United States, and one of them is Alyssa Turney.
He had a nickname.
Yes, he gave himself the nickname of Psycho.
So the FBI interviewed Thomas Heimer. Why would you not try and talk to this person who claims he's a serial killer? Maybe we can solve other cases here.
He had the age progression clipping from USA Today. That's how he identified Alyssa Turney.
Thomas Heimer tells detectives that he was traveling across the country and that when he stopped in Phoenix at a biker bar, he met Alyssa Turney. He said at the time she was a junkie. The two of them start a sexual relationship. He says at one point they're in a motel room, they're having violent sex, and that he kills her during the act. Chops up her body, and then he disposes the parts in a recycling plant.
There was some evidence that maybe Thomas Heimer was being genuine. Some of the things that he said weren't things that were nationally known, like her shoes, some jewelry, stuff like that.
The FBI handed over that information to the Phoenix Police Department. 2 detectives were assigned from the Missing Persons Division, Detective Stuart Summershoe and Detective William Anderson.
So 7 years after Alyssa went missing, this case goes from a presumed runaway to a possible homicide investigation. You decided to go to Florida to interview Heimer.
Yes. Once we had his confession, I and a polygrapher flew down to Florida where he was in prison, interviewed him. We first did a polygraph on him.
How many times have you been arrested for?
Maybe 10 times, 8 times, 10 times, somewhere around there.
What charges?
Everything would be paid largely grand theft, criminal mischief, trespassing, murder, forgery.
Are you the person who killed Alyssa?
Yes.
Thomas Heimer takes a polygraph exam. It shows deception.
So then I came into the room. He had a picture of Alyssa's age progression. He didn't have a picture of her actual picture. So I showed him some actual pictures of her, started confronting him. That's when he changed his story.
You're all locked in. So based on that other picture, what do you think?
On nothing there?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have picked her out. I wouldn't have picked her.
Almost immediately, his story falls apart concerning Alyssa Turney.
Detectives would also come to learn that one of the other women Heimer confessed to killing was J.C. Dugard.
She's been found, held captive, living in deplorable conditions.
J.C. was famously found alive in 2009 after being held captive for 18 years.
So Thomas Heimer's credibility fell apart regarding Alyssa Turney and continued to fall apart regarding the other women he confessed to.
In this weird way, this false confession about what happened to Alyssa Turney actually changes the direction of this case. Detectives Summershoe and Anderson realize this was never investigated, and they have a lot of questions that they want answers to.
You start seeing all these red flags about the unlikelihood of Alyssa running away.
When kids run away, they typically run away to a friend's house, a distant relative's house. They have a place that they're going to. They don't just wander onto the street.
She had saved $1,800, which was a good sum of money for a teenager in 2001, and she didn't use any of it.
When people run away, they don't leave a note to say where they're going because they don't want to be found.
Detective William Anderson and Detective Stuart Summershoe start doing things police had never done, interviewing family, interviewing friends.
How did she like school? Did she enjoy school, or was it just something she had to do?
It was just something that you had to do. I think that was like really strict on her about her grades, so she had to. I think with her dad, she was afraid of him, but it wasn't like she wanted to get away. Like she was used to it, and he would scare her sometimes, and she would get really upset.
And they talked to her boyfriend, John Blackman.
Just a very friendly, happy person around, me and my friends or with her close friends. Obviously things were different at home. She wasn't, very close with her, I believe it was her stepdad, Mike Turney. I don't think she liked him at all.
As you start to dig deeper, what do you find out about Mike Turney?
But finally, we are coming in. We have a team of detectives who are working on this case. You'd think a parent would be very happy about that. His reaction was anger.
You show up at the door, 3 detectives stand there and tell me, well, we're here to canvass the neighborhood to hand out flyers on Alyssa. I said, well, that's not going to do a whole lot of good now, gentlemen. But if you want to go ahead and canvass it, thank you. I appreciate the assistance. But, what are you searching for?
The detectives learned that in addition to being a strict parent, there appears to be a much darker side of Michael Turney's relationship with his daughter, Alyssa.
She did make comments a few times of being scared of him, and made comments that she felt like he was going to kill her.
Did she literally say that?
Literally said, I feel like he's going to kill me.
What did you think of? I think her stupid stepdad can sound ridiculously terrible, but...
The friends, when we ask, is there anything negative in her life, they continually point out her relationship with her stepfather. One video that Mike turns over, it's dated very close to when she disappeared.
Why would you have these cameras inside your home? That seems incredibly odd.
From the detective's point of view, they're like, hold on a second.
So you saw cameras inside the house?
Yeah.
Do you remember where they're?
In interviews with Alyssa Turney's friends, detectives discover something they find unusual about the Turney home. Michael Turney, it turns out, had several cameras installed that appeared to record just about everything that went on there.
Do you remember where they were at?
There's one in the carport, and there's one on the outside of the house. And there's the vent to go down the hall. There's one in there.
You have to remember in 2001, when Alyssa disappears, this is not the age of Ring doorbell cameras, of having a puppy cam in your house. This is a time that no one really has surveillance or security footage at their home.
I just think the way you had control of her and watching everything she would do, and type of things like what he said was a security camera, but she knew he was watching her like that.
Why did you record so much?
The videos are recorded because I love my family. Those are home videos that I've recorded since I can remember.
But weren't these surveillance cameras in the house?
Yeah, there's very few of those.
Those aren't home videos.
No, those aren't home videos. Those are for my protection of my house.
So for security?
Yeah, most of it's for security. Why, because I want to spy on everybody?
Your father said these cameras were for security, for safety. Looking back now, do you think that was the case?
I don't think the one inside the house was for safety. That doesn't seem to... I don't know how many people breaking into a home would just sit down on a couch or hang out in that area. When you look at the videotapes, especially from the past, in our home movies, the focus on one individual as the years got later was disturbing.
And the focus was Alyssa.
And while detectives continue their investigation, Michael Turney decides to send them 2 videos that he tells them they absolutely need to see.
The video that Michael Turney gives to the Phoenix Police Department, one of them is an argument between Alyssa and John Blackman. The other is of Alyssa kind of fooling around with a guy at the Turney family home.
So the 2 tapes that he presents us portrays her as being promiscuous and having a violent boyfriend.
It's not a violent interaction. It doesn't show me that this boy, John Blackman, is a danger to the child.
So from Michael Turney's perspective, he feels like he's assisting in the investigation by handing over some of these tapes. But from the detective's point of view, they're like, hold on a second. If you have this videotape, do you have any videotapes of the day that Alyssa went missing? And Michael Turney says to police, no, I don't have it.
But why didn't you hang on to the surveillance video from the day Alyssa disappeared?
There was nothing on the tape. They were told that. I saved it and said, you want me to give you this tape? A detective told me, no, man, this is just a runaway. I don't need all that stuff.
Having it would have been hugely important in a missing persons case. What she was wearing, what time she left, all of those things are important. But the fact that it was missing was, in the minds of detectives, even more important.
Police say they learned that Michael Turney also records many, if not most, of all the outgoing and incoming phone calls.
Since pretty much the 1970s, he had a wiretapping device. It's unclear why, but he also used that as a way to control his daughter. He listened in on phone calls.
In these audio recordings, which police have released, they reveal these conversations between Alyssa and her boyfriend.
She was talking about running away, so monitor phone calls, which is not really providing her privacy. She was very upset over that, but I didn't know what else to do. I'm a single parent. Her mother's dead.
So now police are asking, is it possible that you have a recording of that phone call that you say Alyssa made to you early that morning?
No. It was, when Alyssa called, it was like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And, you know, if I don't reset the tape, then I have to do it that morning and reset it, turn the tape over.
It would have been great to have that tape.
7 years had already passed when detectives finally sat down with Alyssa's friends for the very first time. And they learned about some disturbing incidents she told them occurred with her stepfather.
The most ominous story that's come out, it involved Alyssa going for a drive with her stepfather. He's teaching her how to drive. That story was told by Alyssa to her boyfriend, John Lackman.
What did she say happened? I think the story was pulled over somewhere in, an unoccupied area, something like a desert area, and tried fooling around with her, and she got, aggressive, fighting about it, and I guess he ended it, and they went home.
And then some of the stories are even darker still. Alyssa disclosing waking up with somebody trying to gag her, identifying her stepfather as trying to do that.
She described waking up to him, gagging and suffocating her or strangling her. When she came to and realized what was going on, that he stopped, and then he threatened for her basically not to tell anybody because nobody would believe her over him.
A lot of those stories, it seemed like they're now saying this for the first time. If they knew about that information in 2001, why wouldn't they come forward?
Some of Alyssa's friends say that she came to them in tears, that she said that one day she woke up and you were on top of her, gagging her, and then that you tried to do something in the car to her. Are those things true?
Absolutely not.
Did you ever do anything sexual with your stepdaughter?
No. Why would I do that? They have no proof whatsoever, anything other than rumors, innuendos, and lies.
If they have no proof, that doesn't mean you didn't do it.
Well, again, there's only two people that can confirm whether I did it, and one is me, and the other is Alyssa. Alyssa's not here, and I'm sitting here. And all I can say, till hell freezes over, I didn't do a damn thing to my daughter.
The detectives from the Phoenix Police Department say they also find it very curious that Michael Turney refuses to sit down for a police interview.
You're the last one to see her. You should be coming down for an interview to talk to us, and you aren't doing that. Why aren't you? We want to find out what happened to your stepdaughter.
Why not talk to the police?
I've never refused to talk to the Phoenix Police Department. I told them to stop calling me every day, okay, with petty stuff. It had nothing to do with Alyssa other than just to try and to keep me agitated.
He said multiple times that he'd be more than happy to sit down with them, but he wasn't going to do it at the police station. He would have done it at his house. He wanted a recording of it.
Detectives Summershoe and Anderson, they begin to accumulate enough evidence to establish probable cause that she's dead, and Michael Turney was the last person to see her.
You decide to search his house. Why was that important?
We're looking specifically to recover that 8-hour tape from the last day she was living, the audio tape from the day she called, the original runaway note. We want to have that.
So detectives get a search warrant, determined to find evidence connected to Alyssa's disappearance.
When they went up to investigate, boy, did they find all kinds of other stuff inside that home.
A sleepless night for 100 neighbors. It was pretty scary, you know.
He was going to kill a lot of people. So a very lethal plan.
It's been years now that Alyssa Turney is missing.
We don't have a body. There's no crime scene.
You think she might still be alive?
I do hope that she's still alive. Of course I do.
But as the years go by, this is turning out to be a mystery. Not just about a missing teenager, but about her stepfather, whom we talked to then, John Quinones, and now.
Why don't you ask a simple question? Did you do it, Mike Turney? Why don't you ask me that? No, I love my daughter.
Mike's portrayal of himself as a good family man. Yet he's crafting 26 pipe bombs in his house.
Some disturbing things start to surface. So it was a decades-long investigation, all this national news media, and a brand new courtroom shocker.
That was the jaw drop moment. Is this happening?
I've still got to look for my daughter. She's most likely not here. She's probably some foreign country somewhere.
Years after 17-year-old Alyssa Turney vanished, I came to Phoenix to speak with investigators, with family, trying to understand what might have happened. By that point, a cloud of suspicion hung over one person, her stepfather, Michael Turney.
What kind of person are you dealing with?
It was unique. We really didn't understand the reactions we were getting from him.
I contacted him by phone, contacted him by email, tried to get him more involved.
You're the last one to see her. If your daughter went missing, what wouldn't you do to help find her?
Detectives have enough to establish probable cause that she's dead, so they execute a search warrant on Michael Turney's home.
What were you hoping to find?
We wanted to recover that audio tape from the day she called. We wanted to recover the VHS tape from the day she disappeared.
Remember, Michael Turney had cameras both outside and inside the house, and detectives hope the tape from May 17th might offer a clue about Alyssa's last moments.
The Phoenix Police Department requested that I consult with them in advance of a search warrant. Michael Turney had an extensive history of perceived injustice, feeling like he was being put upon or the world was out to get him. And very importantly, I was concerned that he might harm law enforcement officers. Alyssa Turney's younger sister, Sarah, was called to a meeting about Alyssa so that she would not be in the home. I had no idea what we were about to discover.
Detectives arrived at the Turney home, search warrant in hand, a psych team advising, and a SWAT team at the ready. When Michael Turney emerged and made his way to his mailbox, the team approached. It turns out Turney was armed, 2 guns, 7 magazines of ammunition, a knife, and he was also carrying a recording device. Inside the home, even more surprises.
Upon entering the house, it was immediately noteworthy for the disarray. There were piles everywhere. There were guns lined up all along the hallway.
A sleepless night for 100 neighbors. It was pretty pretty scary.
While you're searching the house, you find
improvised explosive devices, a number of manufactured pipe bombs. We had to evacuate not just that house, but that entire block.
We were told that there was homemade explosives inside the house and that we had to evacuate.
This must have been stunning.
Mike's portrayal of himself as a good family man. Yet he's crafting 26 pipe bombs in his house.
The one that was 2 foot long and had 20 pounds of nails in it, that is going to kill you, maim you, possibly destabilize your home.
And it's not just the bombs, there was a detailed plot to use these bombs.
During their search in that home, detectives found this video of a local union hall filmed by Michael Turney and a 71-page document with his signature. They describe it as a kind of manifesto with what detectives say sounds like a plan to attack the building.
Michael Turney claims that he was a whistleblower and that he had a beef with the union.
He talks about blowing up a union hall, killing at least 12 union members. There's also a to-do list going step by step of what he's going to do that day.
Our search warrant was executed on December 11th. On his calendar, he had to X mark for the union hall meeting that was December 15th.
You guys saved a lot of lives that day, potentially.
In a way, Alyssa prevented that. Us investigating her disappearance, we saved lives. She saved lives.
I think Phoenix police said it was the largest cache of IEDs that they had ever encountered. That'll get a headline if they didn't know about this missing girl prior to that. Suddenly Phoenix was onto this story.
What about Alyssa? How did this turn affect her case?
This actually complicated it because we go from speaking to the concerned father to now he's a suspect in the bombing plot. So it's a problem.
We now have information that her stepfather is planning a mass murder. So does that make him even more of a suspect? Yeah.
Yes.
Because if you're planning to kill random strangers, it's very possible that you have killed your stepdaughter.
Did you look for forensic evidence, and did you find that?
The home that they had been living in when she disappeared, yes, we did an in-depth forensic review of that home. We did luminol, we're looking for blood, we're looking for body fluids. We checked through the backyard, but no violent crime scene is identified.
The terribly perplexing thing about this drama is you got this guy that seems to fit all the profile. Can you put him at the scene of the crime?
This is the collection of evidence taken from the Turney home.
It's a huge amount of evidence and information we need to go through and document. We have a duty to go through it all because that one thing that we ignore or we don't pay attention to might be vital to the case.
One detail that caught the eye of detectives was found in this document in Michael Turney's home. Turney says he believes the union is responsible for Alyssa's disappearance, that assassins he believed were hired by the union confessed to her murder and to dumping her body in a place called Desert Center.
Desert Center, it's a stop off the freeway. It's just a vast desert area. There's nothing there. You wouldn't even know where to begin to search for a body there.
It just doesn't make sense. Somehow the 17-year-old made it to the convenience store, dropped a few dollars worth of change to make that phone call back to her dad. And at that very moment, she's abducted by 2 union assassins who kill her and then transport her to Desert Center.
The names he provides were traced back to 2 people that actually existed, that had lived, and that had died well before the timeline that he gave.
Everybody else has been vetted, even IBEW members. We've interviewed them, and they are clean. We didn't choose Mike Turney. The investigation pointed toward Mike Turney.
It just seems like the boxes started to get checked off for Mike being a weird cat.
Neighbors say he had a beef with the government and odd surveillance habits.
One time I was coming out of my house and he was filming the whole neighborhood.
The community told ABC 15 Michael Turney was maybe an odd neighbor, but I never thought that this is what they would discover.
And the right to remain silent.
Mike we had detained. Detective Summershoe stepped in, advised him of his Miranda rights.
Understand his rights.
Yep, can I have an attorney?
And he refused to talk to me.
Turney is arrested for unlawful possession of unregistered explosive devices. 4 counts, possession of the bombs being the most important. An attempt to blow up a building used in federal commerce. They also found 2 silencers. So now he's in federal custody.
Michael Turney wouldn't talk to the FBI. He wouldn't talk to the Phoenix Police Department. But there is one person he did speak with.
I'm John Quinones. And they find some pretty disturbing things.
Isn't that amazing?
For years, Michael Turney refused to do an interview with Phoenix police about his missing stepdaughter, Alyssa. But in 2009, 8 years after her disappearance, he decided he would do an interview. Not for police, but for millions of television viewers.
A lively, popular teenager, gone without a trace. But do the clues point much closer to home? Reporting tonight, John Quinones.
Hey, Mr. Turney, how are you? I'm John Quinones.
It's a good day. I really appreciate what you're doing. I've been waiting 7, 8 years for this opportunity to talk about my daughter. I've been trying to bring some large-scale or national news to my missing daughter, Alyssa.
You think she might still be alive?
There is a hope in the back of my mind. It's very bleak, but I do hope that she's still alive. Of course I do.
He sat down with me. What struck you about that decision of his?
It's theater.
He enjoys the attention. So being on national TV was kind of a thrill for him. Why else, if you were facing bomb charges, if you're facing serious jail time, and you haven't had your trial yet, it's not really the smartest thing in the world to go on national TV and give a 2-hour interview.
You had a lot of writings.
Tremendous amount of
Police
writings.
call them almost a manifesto. In one of your writings, you actually said, and I quote here, that you had to kill at least 12 union members.
I don't remember.
Were you going to take innocent lives?
Nope.
Then why write that?
I don't know. I don't remember even writing that.
The Phoenix Police Department's bomb squad uncovers improvised explosive devices inside the home of 60-year-old Michael Turney.
Police say you were going to bomb the local union hall. You weren't going to do that?
Not in the least bit. Why? I'm going to murder a bunch of innocent people? That sounds insane.
What did you have in your house?
Firecrackers, a few things to make some noise, start a fire. So when I blew my head off, at least it would make some kind of noise and maybe some national news would pick it up. I wanted the attention brought to Alyssa.
Investigators arrested Michael Turney after pipe bombs and numerous guns were found inside the home.
These things weren't in there. They were not in that house.
The discovery of these bombs changed the entire focus of the investigation. They filed charges against Michael Turney for possession of these bombs.
We're looking at thousands of hours of manpower time just going through this stuff.
Phoenix police had many people that were working on this, trying to figure out, do we have that final piece of video that showed them what happened to Alyssa?
As the detectives start interviewing friends of Alyssa's, some disturbing things start to surface.
Oh,
Yeah, welcome, sir.
That you were very controlling.
Yes.
And very strict. That you had her sign contracts.
One of the contracts gave extensive detail about what she agreed to do or not to do until she was 18. It included all kinds of specifics about sexual conduct. Another document was a statement indicating that she agreed he had never physically or sexually abused her.
She would have to initial that and sign it in front of a notary and have it stamped.
They were incredibly disturbing and way outside the bounds of even a protective parent-child contract.
Do you feel that went far beyond what a normal parent would do?
Oh, it depends on who you talk to. If it would avoid anything happening to my daughter, yes, I don't think it's far beyond. At the time, I look back at it because she ran away as a result of that. Yeah, of course I feel bad about it.
My name is Lisa Fontes. My areas of specialty are child abuse and intimate partner violence. I have not spoken with anybody in the family, but I have reviewed interviews with Mike Turney, some of the trial transcripts, and I've reviewed some of the police interviews. The contracts Mike Turney had Alyssa sign, and even got one notarized, included things like, "My father isn't sexually abusing me." Those are completely bizarre. A contract is an agreement of future conduct. That's not what this is. The only reason I can think of for someone to do that would be so if the child later came forward and said, yes, X happened, he could say, no, but you signed this thing saying it didn't happen.
And detectives kept coming back to that note that was found the day Alyssa disappeared. For them, something about it just didn't make sense.
The note, it didn't perfectly match the situation.
It's been characterized as a runaway note, and we always push against that because nowhere in the note does she say she's running away. We know that the handwriting was hers. We don't know when it was written or the circumstances of how it was written. So it could have been written long before, and he just held on to it.
I don't know when she wrote it. There was no date on it. She could have written it any time. For all I know, I don't know.
But it was definitely her writing.
I knew it was her handwriting. I had concerns maybe somebody had forced her to go or something.
Michael Turney eventually pled guilty to unlawful possession of unregistered destructive devices, those pipe bombs. The other charges were dismissed as part of his plea deal.
He was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison.
This case received more media attention than any other case I investigated. Your show was watched by millions of people. It was everywhere.
And there was one person who saw that show and just couldn't let it go.
I watched an ABC News special about Alyssa Turney. I just started reading everything I could get my hands on. It really seemed like the solution to the case was very much within reach. This is Missing Alyssa, a podcast documentary series.
And this reporter was ready to do some investigating of her own.
I called him. My heart was pounding.
Hello?
That was one of the most sinister interviews that I've ever done.
Hi, Mr. Turney?
Yes.
It's been 15 years since Alyssa Turney went missing. Detectives are still investigating, but they say they've never had enough solid evidence to charge her stepfather, Michael Turney, or anyone else in the case. But someone new was about to start asking questions.
My name's Otavia McHenry. I'm an investigative journalist. I watched an ABC News special about Alyssa Turney.
The house that they occupied at the time that she disappeared.
So they raided your house?
And that's how I learned about it. I couldn't understand why it hadn't been solved yet. I thought about it becoming a podcast right away. This is Missing Alyssa, a podcast documentary series about the unsolved case of a missing girl.
She kind of did the same investigative work that police were doing. She interviewed friends, she interviewed family of Alyssa, and she went through whatever records were available.
Otavia was scouring the police reports looking for anything unusual. She found a 2009 interview that police had conducted with Michael Turney's nephew, a man named David.
That was one of the things that I read in the reports that kind of made me jump in my seat. I'm like, oh, how come this hasn't been covered before? And I was curious to talk to him immediately.
I feel guilty a lot of ways.
This is Michael's nephew, David.
I didn't do anything to help that girl.
He was very forthcoming and told me this story about when he crashed at his uncle's house for a little bit following a divorce, and he says he put in a VHS tape and that he saw this weird footage of a woman laying down nude from the waist up with a newspaper partially covering her face, and he said he could have sworn that he recognized her, Alyssa.
Tape I saw and Alyssa laying down on the couch with just her shorts on, with no bra, no shirt on, her breasts exposed.
Some Detective Summershoe interviews him.
I knew it was her. It had to be, because you can see the profile of her face, her nose, her mouth, the color of her hair, and she was just laying on that couch.
time Octavia's podcast was released, Michael Turney was a free man after having served about 10 years for that federal weapons charge. What do you know about his life post-release?
He was living quietly and haven't heard from him. No follow-up with us as far as the investigation, no inquiries about Alyssa. I mean, completely low profile.
I knew it was very unlikely that he would speak to me. However, I did end up making that phone call. And to my surprise, he picked up.
Hello? Hi, Mr. Turney?
I asked him about it.
Yeah, he said that he saw a videotape in which Alyssa was naked and also another girl. Just two teenage girls laying on the couch naked. Really? Yeah, he said that was the reason why he left.
He didn't leave, ma'am. I told him, but you had to ask him to leave.
No, but what do you...
Are you nuts? Oh, come on. This is why I don't want to talk to you, because you're full of... This is all bull.
Although David's claim is disturbing, Phoenix detectives say that in all of their searching of the Turney home, they never found that video. And recently, Michael sat down with us again.
Never existed. He was delusional on things. Did this stuff happen? Did he see a film like that? If he did, it certainly wasn't one of mine.
For years, Michael Turney's other daughter, Sarah, stood by her father. But by the time Octavia had tracked her down for her podcast, Sarah's feelings had changed.
It was a little bit after the 2020 show. I had seen some footage on there, been given some information through the show that I had never heard before. Things like he took her to school early that day and the molestation. I had never heard those things before. I wasn't totally on board with it at first, but slowly it just made more and more sense to me that it was probably him.
And she keeps putting pressure on the Phoenix police to do something. And the detectives say to Sarah, look, if you want attention for this case and this investigation, the best thing you can do is to make the public aware.
Let me tell you why I'm even here.
She takes to social media, she starts putting up videos on TikTok, and people start following her. And so she makes this decision to meet with her father, and she decides to record their conversation secretly.
I hope that I don't have to live through any of my children dying or anybody else disappearing. Okay, I mean, that's enough for one lifetime.
Sarah shared that audio with the police, and they say they found one of Michael Turney's responses curious.
Be there at the deathbed, sir, and I'll give you all the honest answers you want to hear.
Telling someone that you're going to give them answers on your deathbed, that makes people feel like, why? Why won't you answer this question? Why does it have to wait?
Quite simply, the answers that you've gotten from day one until the day I'm on a deathbed and die are going to be the same. It's not going to change. I didn't do these things.
But Sarah Turney kept the public pressure on. She even started her own podcast.
My name is Sarah Turney, and this is Voices for Justice. She starts being even more vocal about Alyssa's case. And she wants charges against her father.
It presses the Maricopa County Attorney's Office into, look, this is not a missing kid. Something happened.
Everybody's waiting for that smoking gun piece of evidence, something that actually puts Michael Turney as the responsible party in the murder of Alyssa.
After nearly 2 decades, will prosecutors find the evidence they need to charge Michael Turney?
Good afternoon, everyone.
A bombshell arrest tonight, almost 20 years after Phoenix teen vanished.
Alyssa's life was just beginning. Today, I am announcing the grand jury indictment for second-degree murder of Michael Roy Turney.
Thursday, Maricopa County Attorney Alistair Adele announcing Michael Turney's arrest nearly 20 years later.
Mr. Turney has maintained his innocence since 2000, and his intention is to see that through in court.
Michael Turney pleaded not guilty to the second-degree murder charge.
When prosecutors announced charges, most people were wondering, what's the smoking gun evidence that finally moved the case forward? Well, it turns out there wasn't really anything new.
It was a fresh set of eyes looking at the same old evidence the detectives have been working on for years.
They have a lot of circumstantial evidence. Is it the critical mass they need to overlook the one glaring deficiency? No crime scene, no body.
The challenge in no body cases is you have to actually establish that the person is dead. That is an uphill battle.
They say the wheels of justice grind slowly. 22 years after Alyssa went missing, Michael Turney's day in court arrived. The media, local and national, showed up here too, wondering if after all these years, there would be an answer to what really happened to Alyssa.
The 75-year-old is on trial for second-degree murder in this case. I really wanted to hear what evidence the state was going to present, because this is a really, really hard case.
The evidence you will hear is that on that May 17th, 2001, shortly before noon, the defendant came to Alyssa's school and picked her up and took her out early. She never showed up again.
Julie Janae is joining us live tonight.
You could feel the anticipation in the courtroom.
There are several things that were not coming in this trial. The defense wanted to keep certain evidence out.
It was frustrating. For a over 2-decade investigation, thousands of pieces of evidence, and some evidence can't get in.
Some of the things that Alyssa's friends told investigators that Alyssa told them was hearsay, and it was inadmissible.
They weren't going to hear about the bombs. They weren't going to hear about Diary of a Madman, authored by Michael Turney.
Sometimes what someone's charged with in the past could be so prejudicial to the jury that they would use that.
Been following this trial from the beginning.
Every day that I went to court, I was very aware that we were talking about Alyssa Turney, her life, and her family's life. Even after this trial was done, as we pack up the cameras, they still deal with it every single day, and they're waking up without answers.
2 days after Michael Turney was acquitted, his children released an emotional and pointed family statement through Sarah's podcast.
To Alyssa, I love you and I'm sorry. You moved mountains to protect me for the reality of our lives.
Sarah did an incredible job. I think without her, it would never have gotten to the trial stage.
In his part of the recorded statement, Alyssa's brother James left no room for doubt about whether he believes justice was served.
We would like to specifically thank Detective Summershoe and Detective Anderson for doing an amazing job. They did all they could have done. Unfortunately, that is where our praise for the system ends.
Get there, and you were conflicted about committing. You felt that the way your sister was treated in court was like victim blaming.
Yes,
reductive.
To see your sister talked about in such a way is just unreal. It was watching somebody get punched and not being able to stop it over and over again.
And the result was that there was no justice in your mind, in your opinion.
There's no justice in this case.
How do you keep going? How do you hold on to hope for answers? And that is what the family has said that they'll do.
I've still got to look for my daughter. She's most likely not here. She's probably some foreign country somewhere. If she's caught up in this human trafficking sex trade, we should be looking at that. Not running around persecuting a father that they know damn well they have no evidence on. It's insane. Alyssa's gone. No proof that I had murdered her. Never was.
The saddest part of this entire case is that to this day, we don't know anything more about what happened to Alyssa Turney. Despite charges, trials, podcasts, interviews, we still do not know what happened to Alyssa.
It's one of those cases that will Till the day I die, I'll probably think about. And, second guess myself whether was there something else I could have done, some other place I could have looked. It haunts me.
Stays with you.
Yeah, it stays with you.
Since 2001, we've been looking for Alyssa. We're not done yet, and we're not going to stop trying to find her.
How do you want Alyssa to be remembered?
I wanted her to be remembered as having an incredible smile, her being able to have a blast out of almost anything. She was famous for sticking her tongue out at you in a way of saying, hey, I'm here.
And we should note tonight that because Michael Turney was fully acquitted by the judge in this case, double jeopardy protects him from ever again facing second-degree murder charges for the death of his stepdaughter, Alyssa. That is our program for tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm David Muir, and from all of us here at 2020 and ABC News, good night. Authorities say they've caught a serial killer in multiple unsolved murders.
Lex Heerman, a husband and father, is now charged with first-degree murder.
Tonight, a 59-year-old architect, a father of two, is now under arrest. Charged tonight with killing 3 women.
Rex, did you do it?
Police knew, most likely very quickly, that this was a serial killer.
There was really a Jack the Ripper on the loose in Long Island. It's a man who calls again and again, who says things like, I'm watching your sister's body rot. We have 4 victims, the Gilgo Beach 4.
What's the thinking at this point? I mean, to find this many sets of remains near the same area, you know you've got something connected here.
This becomes his trophy garden, the place where he can go bask in the memories.
They suddenly start to find more and more bodies. A 5th victim, a 6th, a 7th, an 8th. It keeps going and going. Now this is an international news story.
But they never got the surveillance videotape from them. For some, it was the story of the summer. But the mystery at Gilgo Beach really began over a decade ago with a terrified young woman who went missing in the nearby marsh.
Can't escape from this sinking feeling.
State police. Yeah, there's somebody after me. Somebody's after me. Please. Are you in Suffolk County or not?
Can't run from this growing shadow.
No, stop, no. Please, police.
Can't fight as the darkness follows. Desperation calls me, buried deep in the ground.
April 30th, 2010. Shannon Gilbert is an escort who gets a call to go out to Oak Beach, Long Island. On that night, her client contacts her on Craigslist, and she makes arrangements to meet him at his home. She's got a driver named Michael Pack who takes her there.
The drill was they would drive around town and wait for a call to come from one of Shannon's Craigslist ads. Then Michael would get a small part of the fee in return for driving her around.
Shannon Gilbert was a lovely, sweet little girl who came from Ellenville, New York.
She'd had a rough childhood. She was in and out of foster care most of her life. By all accounts, she was intelligent. She graduated high school at age 16.
She had all kinds of dreams about being an actress and being a singer. She was drawn to New York City, where she thought she was going to find her career.
She was looking for work and she saw an ad, something about modeling or something like that. And when she showed up, it wasn't about modeling, it was something else. So then that's how she got into that business.
That night was a slow night, and she wasn't getting response to her ads until finally she was hired by a guy who lived out in Oak Beach.
He offered 2 hours for $450, and so since there were not any other appointments, she said, "Okay, let's go."
She was in Manhattan working. She called me. It was 1 a.m. saying that she was going to Long Island, and she'll call me when she's done.
Oak Beach is really an interesting community. It's very insular. It's on the south shore of Long Island. There's nothing around there. There's no stores, there's no gas stations, there's no anything.
You drive up, there's a gate, you have to enter. So Shannon arrives at Oak Beach to her client, Joseph Brewer. She gets out of the SUV, Michael Pack waits for her, and she enters a house that she's probably never been to before.
And the clock starts ticking, and Michael Pack stays outside in the car, sort of minding his own business, playing poker on his phone, and waiting for 2 hours to go by.
Around 5 a.m., the client, Joseph Brewer, steps out of his home, knocking on the car window of Michael Pack. It seems he's having an issue with Shannon and wants Michael to help get her out of his house.
At some point, Shannon gets it into her head that these men are trying to kill her.
Something has really scared her, and she dials 911.
State police. Yeah, there's somebody after me. Where are you, ma'am? I don't know. Can you trace where I am? No, I can't. No, stop, no.
Come on, let's go. Roll past us.
No, please, Ryan, you gonna tell me?
You better come on.
No, nowhere.
Let's go back to Manhattan, all right?
She freaked out, and she said, what'd she say? "You guys are trying to kill me."
Shannon sounds like she's fearing for her life. She's so scared that she bolts out of the house, leaving Brewer behind, runs down the road and begins knocking on the door of neighbor Gus Coletti.
I was in shaving at 5 o'clock in the morning, and somebody knocked on the door and they was screaming, "Help me, help me."
And you can hear him on 911 having an interaction with her, making sure she was okay.
Hello?
What are you doing?
Gus Coletti makes his own phone call to 911.
Subject police location of emergency. I live in Oak Beach in the association. There's a young girl running around here screaming, and there's some guy trying to follow her.
Shannon then runs down the road to the home of another neighbor and begins banging on that door.
What is the location of your emergency?
Some woman is knocking at my door. She says she's in danger.
Do you know her or no?
No, I don't. I'm not letting her in.
During this whole time that Shannon is running around knocking on doors at Oak Beach, her driver, Michael Pack, is trying to get her to come back into the car.
At that point, she bolted out and ran down the road that way. He took off after her. That was the last I saw of her.
Eventually, Michael Pack can't find Shannon. Shannon has somehow disappeared. But at some point, he assumes that she'll get back to New Jersey on her own, and he decides to leave.
Michael Pack told me that he left Oak Beach in frustration.
Between Joseph Brewer's house and the front gate, my daughter disappeared.
Shannon Gilbert's 911 call goes on for about 21 minutes. By the time police arrive, there's no sign of her. She seems to have just vanished into the night. Both Joseph Brewer and Michael Pack say they never threatened Shannon, and police cleared them of any wrongdoing.
Around like 6 a.m. I saw that she was at home because she usually gets home around that time. I kept calling the phone nonstop. I figured that she probably was in trouble. We went to a police station. They go, maybe she just ran away. I was like, no, she would not do that. They didn't take it seriously.
When my sister didn't come back home,
I called Suffolk County to try to file a missing persons report, but they said because of where she lives that I would have to file it through New Jersey.
We were ping-pong back and forth. We were calling the police. When are you gonna look? When are you gonna search? When are you gonna try to find Shannon? Do something.
It took 4 months before the connection was made between the New Jersey missing persons report and Shannon's disappearance in Oak Beach. I think there was definitely some prejudice with regards to taking this case so seriously. We're not talking about a cheerleader. We're not talking about a child here. We're talking about a sex worker.
We didn't hear another word about it until August. And in August, a plainclothes detective came to my door, and I asked him, why did it take 4 months for you to get around to looking for her?
Can't fight as the darkness follows.
Despite the police's slow start into the search for Shannon Gilbert, her disappearance is about to unravel one of the biggest crime dramas in Long Island history.
Buried deep in the ground.
December 11th, 2010. There is a canine officer out with his cadaver dog. He decides that he's going to go back to Oak Beach for training purposes, to the place where Shannon last was seen.
John Malia, I would describe as the best canine handler we had. He spent a lot of his uncommitted time on his own down back in Oak Beach searching for Shannon Gilbert.
They wrap for the day, and he goes down Ocean Parkway, a couple miles.
John made the decision that he was going to leave Oak Beach and search further west along Ocean Parkway. Near Gilgo Beach, there's vines, there's sticker bushes, there's poison ivy. It's just extremely densely vegetated. And from the shoulder, you really can't see far into that area at all.
And the dog indicates something. He basically air scents.
All of a sudden, there was like 3 helicopters going back and forth right over the rooftops. I said, oh boy, they must have found something.
On Saturday, a cadaver dog searching this nearby stretch of brush led officers to the skeletal remains of a woman's body dumped in the thick brush.
Dog gave me an indication, and he started indicating to a spot off the shoulder of the parkway. At that point, I saw the skeletal remains of a body.
The body's that of a petite female that's badly decomposed and wrapped up in camouflaged burlap. It's been dumped in the thick brush near Gilgo Beach, just yards from the highway.
We had detectives come to the house. They told me that they were almost 100% sure it was my sister. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, she's dead. I can't believe it.
Hoping to identify the body quickly, investigators are looking for a distinctive feature that Shannon had.
Shannon Gilbert had been struck in her face by her boyfriend. And as a result, she suffered an injury that the repair required a titanium plate be put into her jaw.
We were young too, so very young. She was getting really physical with me, and then I kind of like lost it and went overboard and I hit her. I regretted it back then. And even after all those years, I still regret it today.
The body that they found was severely decomposed. It had been out in the elements for an extended period of time. But this titanium plate would always be there.
The lack of that titanium plate in the human remains, I think that helped determine that it was not Shannon Gilbert more rapidly than may otherwise have been the case.
So if this isn't Shannon Gilbert, who is it?
That body, we learned later, that's Melissa Bartholomew. Melissa Bartholomew was 24 years old. She had disappeared in the summer of 2009. That's a year and a half when the police don't have any success finding her.
There were similarities between Melissa and Shannon. Both of them were about the same age. They were both petite. and they worked in the sex industry.
You hear a lot of stories about the victims, particularly when they are escorts, and you make lots of assumptions about how they were, truly lost souls. In Melissa Bartholomew's case, she had a family who loved her.
She was so feisty, and she used to do crazy things even when she was real small. She had a pet rabbit. If we had the camera out, she would climb inside the cage so you could take a picture of her in the cage. She was quite silly.
Melissa was a decent student. She went on to get a cosmetology degree.
Melissa wanted to eventually open up a beauty salon, so she moved to New York City.
What happens to a lot of these girls is that they get picked up by what's called a Romeo pimp. Basically, it's a boyfriend who is going to take her away from her small town life, and that's not what happens. The boyfriend subsequently ends up convincing the woman to become an escort.
Melissa had just gotten out from under the thumb of a boyfriend who had in effect become her pimp. And she was living independently and trying to support herself. And Craigslist offered a way for her to be her own boss. You could just post a picture with your phone number. Somebody would call you.
It was believed that she had gotten a call and she was going to go out to visit a client in Long Island.
A few days went by and, no phone calls from her, and it just wasn't like her.
I actually started calling hospitals, jails. Nobody knew where Melissa Bartholomew was. It was like she vanished.
Soon after Melissa disappears, her 15-year-old sister Amanda starts to receive a number of phone calls around dinner time.
Amanda's phone rings, and she looks at it, and the caller ID is coming from Melissa's phone. And she rejoices. Her sister has finally resurfaced.
Amanda's like, wow, oh my God, it's Melissa, and she answers the phone, and there's a guy on the other end. And she's like, where's my sister? Who is this?
It's a man who is taunting her and harassing her.
The person said, I'm watching your sister rot.
The final call was, he actually said what he did to her. He actually told Amanda that he killed her sister. You should have seen her face.
Later, back at Gilgo Beach, investigators are fanning out into the marsh near Ocean Parkway, searching for more clues. But nobody is prepared for what the landscape is about to reveal.
They had found another body, and another body, and then another one.
After first finding the body of Melissa Bartholomew, police spent the next 2 days searching the area. This area is totally desolate. It's the open face of the ocean. There's nothing there.
You hope to maybe find the murder weapon or find something else related to the killing.
But what police stumble upon next would shock this seaside community to its core. Not one, not two, but 3 more bodies hidden in the brush.
Late this morning, Suffolk County Police announced details of a startling series of finds.
The decomposed bodies were found off a roadway along Gilgo Beach yesterday, possibly dumped out of a car.
What we have is we have 4 other bodies. And we realize they're not Shannon. They're other women. And suddenly, what was a missing person becomes something much larger.
And what's the thinking at this point? I mean, to find this many sets of remains near the same area, you've got something connected here.
I think it was pretty clear to everybody, although it was not publicly announced at the time, that there was a potential serial killer working in Suffolk County.
Police find 3 women, all in their 20s, and they'll later identify them as Amber Costello, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, and Megan Waterman. Now, how easy would it be for somebody to come and dump remains out in this area?
This is a I hate to say it, but not a bad place to do it. If the road is fairly straight, you can see traffic coming for miles. If it was at night, you would see the headlights of the cars coming. Back then, there was no guardrail here, so you could pull your car right up against the brush, discard human remains in there, and then drive off.
They're found together. They are placed together, essentially, one by one, a short distance away from each other, each of them fully intact. They found 3 bound with what turns out to be burlap.
I don't think it's a coincidence that 4 bodies ended up in this area.
My expertise is in serial killers, and I've written 71 books. The way the bodies were handled definitely suggests somebody who knows the area. And once he has succeeded in placing a body in this location, this becomes his trophy garden, the place where he can go and bask in the memories of killing these women.
These 4 women, who we now know as the Gilgo Beach 4, they all fit an MO. They're all petite, like 5 feet. And they had all been operating in the tri-state area as sex workers.
The victims were engaged in a high-risk business, and people who are engaged in a similar business should be on very, very high alert.
The women in the case weren't just escorts, as they were labeled at the time. They were also mothers, daughters. Each had their own story. Maureen Brainerd Barnes was the first of the Gilgo 4 to go missing.
Maureen Brainerd Barnes was 25 years old when she disappeared July 9th of 2007. Maureen lived in Norwich, Connecticut.
She had these bright blue eyes. She's very outgoing, very outspoken.
Maureen and Sarah met, and they immediately, recognized kindred spirits in one another.
She had just had her son, and she had had her daughter then.
She, like a lot of the women in this case, struggled to have enough money to support family members, and she found a very easy and quick way of doing it.
It was right around her birthday when she introduced me to it. She said, "You like to sleep with random people, why don't you get paid for it?" I was raised that, escorting call girls, prostitutes, hookers, whatever, they're dirty. She ended the stigma for me when we went out for our first weekend in New York. There was no standing on the street corner. And for the most part, the phone calls we got off for our ads, the guys were completely different. They were really nice.
Sarah, for a time, turned out to be a pretty good partner for Maureen. They had all kinds of rules set up for safety.
The first one, always follow your instincts. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it. There's no amount of money that's worth your life. That was the second. Every time I talk about it, it doesn't get any easier.
The weekend Maureen disappeared was not a typical trip to New York.
Maureen was under a lot of pressure that weekend to make money. She was getting evicted.
She wasn't making enough money that weekend. And Maureen said, "You go back, I need to stay another night or 2. This was an act of desperation for Maureen.
And she was just sitting in bed with the TV on. And I said, "Come on, let's go." She was like, "No, I'll be good. I'll be here when you come back on Wednesday." She was not.
2 weeks after Maureen disappears, her friend Sarah gets a phone call from a man saying that he knows where Maureen is.
He goes, "Do you know Marie?" And Marie was her escort name. I'm like, "Well, what's she look like?" He said, "She's short." I said, "Yeah, she's got dark brown hair. To her shoulders. And on her right arm, she has a tattoo that says Nicole or something." Well, that is her. That's my friend. He's like, "She's not missing." Well, I just saw her at a whorehouse in Queens. Oh, yeah? That doesn't sound right to me.
When Sarah hears whorehouse, it's not a term that's thrown around these days. You imagine that whoever was making this call, was someone a little out of touch with the times.
And, and I'm like, can you call me back unblocked? Because I need to tell the cops and her family this so that they're not worried anymore. He's like, yeah, sure. Never called me back.
The idea that this man would call a victim's friend and taunt them like this is really sickening.
But remember, this isn't the first time somebody close to one of the victims got a taunting phone call. Is this a pattern? The investigation into another victim will eventually lead to a big break in the case.
Police come across their first real lead, a witness who describes an ogre-like man who gets into a very specific drug.
Beach. And so for people to think that this is some seedy, dirty area where these bodies were thrown, that is not what is going on here. This is a beautiful part of Long Island.
Gilgo Beach has been around since the first grain of sand.
I've been coming to Gilgo for years. Since I was a teenager, Gilgo's the best. It's beautiful. It's a surf beach.
Been known for surfing in New York for a really long time, since the 60s, 50s.
It's different clothing and different shaped surfboards, but it's the same vibe as it was, even before I was alive.
As soon as I heard about the Gilgo Beach killer, it was very scary. Never think for a second that something like that would be over here.
People were very hungry for answers, and if they weren't getting their answers, they created their own theories on what they did have. And it turns out we were all wrong.
6 weeks after the grisly discoveries of 4 human skeletons on this deserted barrier island, those bodies have names and faces.
One of the bodies that we found on December 13th has been positively identified as Megan Waterman.
Megan Waterman is from Scarborough, Maine, and she grew up raised by her grandparents. She was a free spirit and a rebel, and she struggled to fit in. And then she fell in love with a guy from New York City. He was a pimp. He and she would take trips to Long Island, and she would go to work.
The last place she had been seen was leaving the Hap Hog Long Island Holiday Inn. She left her cell phone, and that was the last time anybody ever saw of her.
A video camera captures her leaving the lobby of the hotel. It seems as if she's been told to walk a short distance from the hotel to where she might get picked up by someone who doesn't want to be seen. And you could say, that's the work of a clever serial killer, but you could also say that's the work of a John who doesn't want to be noticed by anybody at a hotel.
I know my daughter. She had to have met this person at least 5 or 6 times to let her guard down enough to walk out of the hotel without her cell phone. It took Suffolk County a month before they did anything. They don't care about the sex world.
The level of effort that was put into the search by the Suffolk County Police Department is evidence of the fact that we cared about these people regardless of what they did for a living. That didn't matter to us whatsoever.
This killer and serial killers in general choose their victims because they believe they won't be missed. They choose people who are engaged in professions that society isn't kind to.
It's the world's oldest profession, but yet it's also the one that people look down on the most.
Whoever was targeting these individuals was doing it because of their business. Anybody in the business in particular should be very careful who they meet and where they meet them.
The women in this case are working as escorts at a time when escort work is changing dramatically.
For so many years, we had streetwalkers. With the internet, that's totally changed.
Sex workers now can use the internet to do their own work, get their own clients.
It works like this. You post an ad, then you take a call to meet a John. But you never know who you're going to meet or what you're going to walk into.
Everybody thinks that this process is safer, but what we've all come to realize is that it's far more dangerous.
The last of the Gilgo Four to disappear is Amber Costello.
Amber Costello disappeared just 3 months after Megan Waterman in September of 2010. She and her sister Kim both lived in Long Island now, and they both were working as escorts.
I met Amber at church. She had a really bad childhood, and it just messed her up.
Amber's friend asked us not to use her name.
Amber had become dependent on drugs, and she had been living with her boyfriend and a guy named Dave Schaller.
Amber, she was a sweetheart. If she had different channels, she would have been able to do something a lot better with her life.
Amber and Dave Schaller, they had a sort of setup that when a man would come see Amber, Dave would come into the house and pretend to be the angry boyfriend. The client would get so upset that this boyfriend had come in that the client would just leave and Amber would get to keep the money.
One night, they try to run this scam, and Dave gets a good look at the guy, and he's unusual because he's so tall. He later describes him as an ogre. And he's unusual in another way too, which is because when he runs away, he gets into an unusual car, a Chevy Avalanche.
Later on that night, Amber got a text from this male client saying that wasn't very nice. He demanded a credit.
When she went missing, she called me earlier that day. She said, this guy keeps calling me, he won't leave me alone.
She said he wants me for the night. I said, did he throw money at you? Yeah, $1,500. It just sounded like too much money. $1,500. She gave me a hug. She bounced and she took off.
After she leaves that night, Amber is never heard from again.
Dave Schaller basically told authorities we had been running this ruse. We ran on a guy, and then Amber disappeared.
He remembered this interaction, and he remembered the Chevy Avalanche. So something in his mind knew at that time that something was off. By spring of 2011, I think law enforcement had realized they have a big problem on their hands and that they should probably go search the entire area.
They start sending legions of officers up and down Ocean Parkway.
Police officers, firefighters, emergency workers, people, descended from cranes to go into deep bramble.
The FBI was asked in to help with the technical part of this investigation. We help identify where bodies are located.
They suddenly start to find more and more bodies.
A fifth victim, a sixth, a seventh, an eighth. It keeps going and going.
Law enforcement officers have been combing the tall grass here.
I was right there when the canine officer realized that what she had found was a child, and I think was a gut punch to all of us.
Unbelievably, there are now 10 sets of human remains.
Are they dealing with one killer? Two killers? How many killers could have been involved in these murders?
Thursday, April 14th, 2011.
The manhunt for a serial killer underway right now on New York's Long Island. The FBI preparing high-resolution cameras to fly over the area where police found human remains.
Despite Suffolk County Police finding all of these bodies between December of 2010 and April of 2011, they still did not find Shannon Gilbert.
This is not a television show where everything is solved in an hour.
I am so very tired from seeing that. I'm not gonna let this end until I find my daughter.
So not only did we want to find Shannon Gilbert to get closer to her families, we just felt compelled to find Shannon Gilbert. So I suggested we go back into the Oak Beach area.
This is the area adjacent to where she was last seen.
It's a bunch of waterways almost, and sometimes they're 6 feet deep, depending on the water situation.
The only way to find her body is to use these special vehicles that will allow detectives to go through the marsh, but not get stuck in these deep canals.
We were able to drive that around and much more rapidly search the area. So during the search, again, John Malia finds a pair of shoes, a pair of pants, and a pocketbook.
With identification in the pocketbook belonging to Shannon Gilbert, we believe that this is her pocketbook.
Then, early in the morning on December 13th, we found the set of human remains.
After a year and a half, police on Long Island believe they have found Shannon Gilbert, a prostitute who vanished after partying with a client she met on Craigslist.
The police believe that my sister was either so intoxicated or so strung out on drugs that she just ran into the marsh, got stuck, and just expired.
Looking at the terrain, it's very easy to get engulfed with water, muck, and fall down and not be able to get out of there.
Police believe that Shannon may have drowned or died of exposure somehow in the marsh. Her death doesn't follow the pattern of the Gilgo 4. She was found in a different area. She wasn't wrapped in burlap. But despite the authorities' conclusion, Shannon's family's convinced she was murdered by the same killer.
Shannon's death was not an accident. Her death was not an accident.
And as far as the other bodies that were recovered, the Suffolk County Police are now asking, do they have one serial killer on the loose along the South Shore? Or two?
It's anybody's guess whether this is one killer who has refined his technique over time, or whether the Gilgo 4 are their own thing. And this dumping ground is actually the work of several people.
But the investigation hits a huge stumbling block in 2012 when the new chief of police, James Burke, shuts out the FBI.
It is the law that the federal authorities should be in this case. Apparently, they've been boxed out and told to stay away by Suffolk County.
Not only has Burke kicked out the FBI, he's also in the crosshairs of a federal corruption investigation. The feds ended up investigating allegations that he brutalized a suspect, someone accused of stealing sex toys and pornography out of Burke's own car.
He did not want the FBI in his business. James Burke will now spend nearly 3 years behind bars. The former chief sentenced today for beating a suspect and then covering it up.
Unfortunately for the Gilgo 4, that means this case was paralyzed for years.
When all the years went by and absolutely nothing was being done about this, I thought that they were never going to ever catch this man.
The families had been outraged that this case had not only gone cold, that it was in a deep freeze, that this case was nowhere.
So I arrived in Suffolk in April of 18. The thought was, all right, we really need to kind of reinvigorate this investigation.
Thank you for joining us. She calls a press conference in January 2020.
Today, we are releasing the first piece of new information.
A belt that had been tied around one of the victims, Maureen Brainerd Barnes.
A black leather belt embossed with the letters HM or WH was recovered during the initial stages of this investigation.
The press conference is notable mainly because for the first time in years, there's a police department proactively working on this investigation.
And then 2 years after the belt tip is released, the case is invigorated yet again.
In 2022, Suffolk County, like other parts of New York State, undergoes a sweeping political change. You have Ray Tierney comes in as the new district attorney. Rodney Harrison, former top uniform officer in the NYPD, becomes the new police commissioner.
How many agencies were involved in this?
We had the state police, we had the sheriffs, we had the FBI, and we had the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office all working together.
We had our first task force meeting February 1st of 2022.
Then just 6 weeks later, the task force has a suspect, for the first time in 13 years.
They were off to the races.
Police had a team surveilling his every move.
The one thing we didn't want to do is have him be led that we're onto him.
Somebody probably living a double life, hiding in plain sight.
They're putting the pieces of this puzzle together under the radar.
The police watch and they wait.
Finally, after 13 years, an arrest.
Last night, a member is assigned to the Gilgo Beach Task Force did place one individual under arrest.
And they take him down in Midtown Manhattan.
Rex, did you do it?
Tree-lined streets. Nice homes. It's quiet.
Except for the accused serial killer who lived there and allegedly hunted from there. Many people would ask how you could be married to somebody for 20 plus years and not know something.
If they happened, it was a complete double life that her husband lived.
I'm Rex Huerman. I'm an architect. When a job that should have been routine suddenly becomes not routine, I get the phone call.
Law enforcement says they were able to review the suspect's Google history. They say they found searches related to violent pornography, to child pornography.
Came to our attention that he had 97 permits for firearms.
That's a cache of weapons. Now, is this a near victim of the alleged killer who lived to tell?
I'm so glad I trusted my gut and got the hell out of there. Have you heard of the Gilgo Beach killings? He was talking as if he was remembering it and reliving it.
Can you smile? That is.
I've never been scared like that before, ever.
In December of 2010, the bodies of 4 women turn up in a remote part of Long Island.
The skeletal remains of 4 people were found at Gilgo Beach.
All 4 victims were bound and laid out in the exact same fashion. 3 of them were wrapped in camouflage burlap.
It seems that we have a serial killer on our hands.
It could be weeks or months before we identify the 4 people.
I think these cases were dismissed and were not taken seriously because these were sex workers.
I want to assure everybody that we're on top of this investigation.
More body parts turn up. The FBI is brought in, but still the investigation goes nowhere for more than a decade until last year.
They formed a new task force that sort of gave fresh eyes to the case.
Things moved quick, but then once a suspect was identified, it moved even quicker.
Tonight, breaking news, the stunning arrest. Authorities say they've caught a serial killer in multiple unsolved murders.
Rex Huerman, a husband and father, is now charged with the deaths of 3 of the victims found on the Barrier Beach off Long Island's South Shore.
Huerman, a 59-year-old architect, is taken into custody just blocks away from his office in Midtown Manhattan.
He certainly doesn't try to run. We can't hear anything. It's very calm.
It was as much of a surprise to me as it was to everybody else who was watching television that morning.
I had no idea who he was or anything about him.
Rex, did you do it?
But everyone's about to learn about Rex Huerman. First off, while the arrest was in Manhattan, he's actually a commuter. He lives in a small town on Long Island, Massapequa Park, which isn't far from where the 4 bodies were found. And secondly, he's a really big guy.
Rex Huerman is a very large individual. If you look at his perp walk, he is like a head above any of the police officers who are leading him.
He was this hulking, almost overweight, 6'4", 240-pound man.
The 59-year-old architect and married father of 2 now charged with killing 3 women.
Huerman's charged with both first and second-degree murder for the deaths of Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, and Amberlynn Costello. He pleads not guilty.
And as for the fourth victim, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Huerman is the prime suspect according to police, but he's not been charged in her death.
We had people coming here from all over Long Island to get a look at Rex Huerman's house. You see it right there, the red house right there.
Just like in 2011 when the media descended, they all were back. And the public was there too, crowds of people outside of his house.
I heard the helicopters, so it got me up by 6:45.
And it's like the entire world descended upon this tiny block in Massapequa Park. It was like a tourist distraction.
Massapequa Park is only about 15 miles, a 20-minute drive to Gilgo Beach. If you wanted to take a boat, you could, and it would be even shorter.
Massapequa Park is exactly what you would think of as a middle-class commuter town on Long Island. Tree-lined streets, nice homes. It's quiet.
He was born and raised there. He even lives in the house that he grew up in.
He was married. He had a child with his second wife and also was a stepfather.
Even before he was taken into custody, Huerman stood out in his neatly manicured Long Island neighborhood. Unlike the other homes here, his appears to be in a state of disrepair, which left his neighbors feeling a bit uneasy.
I would take the kids, trick-or-treating for Halloween, and by the time we got to this block, it was just a bad vibe.
When I first saw the news report, and as soon as I saw the house, I knew exactly who it was.
I was just like, wow, that if I had to think of someone from school, he would fit the bill.
I met Rex Huerman when I was 8 years old. I was in second grade.
So we went to the same grammar school together, and then junior high school, and then Berna High School. Rex was very introverted, very shy, never really made eye contact with you.
He didn't have any friends, and he was an unknown. He was always on the outside looking in.
We do know with Rex Huerman that he was socially unskilled in high school, that he was bullied, that he probably didn't get dates with the pretty girls.
He later goes on to study architecture at the New York Institute of Technology. Time goes by, and he opened up his own architectural firm in Midtown.
Today on interview, Rex Huerman.
In February of 2021, he's interviewed in his office for a YouTube real estate show.
Tell us, who you are. Rex Huerman. I'm an architect. I'm an architectural consultant. I'm a troubleshooter.
He was very happy to be interviewed, I have to say. He really was really proud of his work.
When a job that should have been routine suddenly becomes not routine, I get the phone call.
I worked for Rex's company in the summer of 2010. Around the office. He was very self-important.
Part of my job became educate the city.
I was 27, and he was just like, I don't know, he was like a little awkward. Maybe he wasn't used to talking to a young woman. I don't know.
The interview with Rex was very difficult. What has this job taught you about yourself? He couldn't relax.
I think it's taught me more about how to understand people.
He was calculating all the time his answers.
It's disturbing, and I think you very naturally ask yourself, what did you miss? What did he say? Like, what have I forgotten? What details am I forgetting? Maybe they meant something at the time.
Can you smile?
That is.
Rex often invited colleagues out shooting, hunting. Most of the time people declined just because they weren't interested.
That's it, folks. That was Rex.
So, could we have seen anything with Huerman? Well, first of all, he's not convicted of anything yet, but most typically, people who are close to a killer will have the most benign interpretation of their behavior because they don't want to think they're living with a killer. Who does?
There is a lot of intrigue around Rex Heuermann and who he is, but the big question is, how did police break the case? And what evidence do they say they've got to link him to the murders?
This morning, cracking the case. Investigators saying how modern police work led to the arrest of an alleged serial killer more than a decade after the case went cold.
Yes, the day has finally come when someone so depraved of heart is finally brought to justice.
I have been covering this case since March of 2011. Since then, there were 7 police commissioners, 3 district attorneys, and a cast of agencies trying to figure out who this suspect was. And eventually, they get down to one suspect.
When I took office in January of 2022, I made Gilgo a priority.
What was the status of the investigation once you got here?
My predecessors, the former commissioners, put a lot of work into this. I don't think the case was stalled. I just think investigations into homicides, especially a serial killer case, are not easy.
Thanks to the advancement of cell phone technology and DNA analysis that weren't available in 2010, the team was able to narrow down the field of suspects.
So there was not a lot of forensic value at the crime scenes. What we did have is 5 hairs. There was one hair in particular that was stuck between the tape that was used to bind Ms. Waterman.
Using advanced DNA technology, investigators say they determined that the hair found on Megan Waterman belonged to a Caucasian male.
So we had the hairs, and then we also had the great work done by the FBI and their cell phone experts, who had looked at some of the burner phones that the killer used, as well as some of the victim phones, and had established areas of interest.
We had cell site hits in 2 areas in Massapequa Park and also in Midtown Manhattan. There was like a little bit of what we called a box where our potential suspect was making the phone calls to our sex workers.
And then with further analysis, utilizing the tools that we invested in, we essentially went from over 1,000 homes to under 200 homes, and we were able to pinpoint the Manhattan location to a very specific area of Manhattan.
It really helped us narrow in into saying that whoever is our suspect probably has a residence over at Massapequa Park and has some type of work in Midtown Manhattan.
By 2022, even though authorities have narrowed down their search area and they've got a suspect profile, detectives still don't have that critical piece of evidence that points toward a name. But it turns out the biggest tip has been hiding in the case files for years.
It was a New York State police investigator who took another look at the fact that there was this identification of a vehicle that Amber Lynn Costello had last been seen leaving in.
Amber was roommate, one of my best friends. She started getting calls, and she would be on the phone with the guy for a while.
The roommate is the one who gave us the information that she had a customer who drove a green Avalanche, who was 6'6", 275 pounds, fuzzy hair.
That information came in at the beginning of the investigation in 2010, 2011, along with what was really thousands of tips. And unfortunately, it gets lost and buried.
Once we brought that state police investigator who had access to a different database and was able to track it down to that Massapequa Park box that we've identified, really put us in a place where Rex Heuermann was our guy.
So now that they have a name, the task force, of course, escalates the investigation. They begin closely surveilling Heuermann and issuing more than 300 subpoenas over the next 16 months.
What you're looking for is you're looking for additional information, whether it's financial records, phone records, forensic information.
The bail document paints a really disturbing picture. Law enforcement says they were able to review the suspect's Google history. They say they found searches related to violent pornography, to child pornography, and they say they also found searches related to the Gilgo investigation itself.
In a 14-month period, he searched the Gilgo investigation over 200 times.
They started putting surveillance on Rex Shulman, and they would follow him.
But they needed DNA evidence. You had a crime that was so many years old, and they had nothing to tie anybody to the location.
They needed something that Rex Sherman would throw out that would have his DNA on it. And it's New York City. What's better than a slice of pizza? They were outside his office, and a detective saw him come out and throw out a pizza box. So what does the detective do? Great old-fashioned police work. Goes right up to the trash can, digs it out, and there is a piece of pizza crust.
In the end, prosecutors say the smoking gun was a pizza crust. Police dug through Heuermann's trash, matching DNA from a partially eaten slice to previously unidentified hairs found on 3 of the Gilgo victims.
Thanks to the DNA that was retrieved from the pizza box, investigators were able to match that DNA to DNA collected at the scene to a 99% statistical probability.
According to law enforcement, Rex Sherman has these alias email accounts. We know that he has these burner phones, according to police. Police say up to this year, Sherman was still attempting to contact sex workers.
So good morning. There's been some new developments in the Gilgo investigation. Last night, a little bit around 8:30 p.m., members assigned to the Gilgo Beach Task Force did place one individual under arrest.
This could be a dangerous situation. How does this go down?
We weren't planning on doing the takedown of Rex Sherman that day, but we got concerned about information possibly getting out due to the fact that we're going through a grand jury and trying to get him pre-indicted.
So he's walking out, unsuspecting, and the agents come up to him. What's his reaction?
It wasn't any struggle or any fight. He goes, "What am I being arrested for?" We informed him when he's being placed under arrest.
We're here at the corner of First Avenue and Michigan Avenue in Massapequa Park. I want to show you this red house. This is the house that police have been swarming.
We wanted to execute a number of search warrants. So while that was happening in Manhattan, there was a team going out to the house in Massapequa Park.
Police have now descended on the Heuermann property, and the house and this Long Island suburb are completely upended.
And then we did a search warrant at his residence and recovered close to 300 firearms.
Every square inch of the house was removed. Investigators spent much of the day searching Heuermann's home, checking to see if any mementos or trophies.
If there's any evidence inside that house, we're going to collect it, and we're going to use it against him to make sure we hold him accountable.
Rex Sherman is now in jail.
Rex, did you do it?
He's been charged with first-degree murder. And now police have an opportunity to dig up even more evidence.
You saw the helicopters overhead. They were so loud here.
They go into his house. They rip it apart, looking for any piece of evidence to potentially tie him to the murder victims.
Given the type of case it was, you wanted to get all types of evidence, from large tangible pieces of evidence as well as microscopic evidence, forensic evidence, hair, fibers, blood, DNA, what have you.
With With the shocking news that Heuermann was accused of being a serial killer, his family was quickly displaced from their home. Investigators would spend close to 2 weeks here combing through for additional evidence. Tell me in detail, if you would, what went on during the search.
Every square inch of the house was removed, every item from every closet, every dresser drawer. The mattresses were taken.
The mattresses were taken?
All the mattresses were taken out of the house. A 4-foot portion of the kitchen counter was cut out. The drain traps on the bathroom sinks and the kitchen sinks were taken and not replaced. So if you turn on the water, it just runs right down to the basement, to the floor.
Did they have to just essentially destroy the home?
The house wasn't destroyed, but did we have to meticulously go through every little part of the house to see if there's anything that we can recover that can be connected to our victims? Absolutely. I don't regret us doing that at all.
I think they were out 13 days, staying at a couple friends, hotels, and a couple nights in the car. Actually a rented car because all the vehicles were seized by the police department as well.
Authorities already know that Heuermann's in possession of a large trove of guns.
It came to our attention that he had 97 permits for firearms.
That's a cache of weapons.
That is a cache of weapons, I agree. And then we did a search warrant at his residence and recovered close to 300 firearms.
The defendant fancied himself a collector.
Heuermann owns 2 storage units very close to his house. One they went to immediately, and they were there for about 5 days processing that unit, and then they also processed another storage unit. We have never been told what they took from those locations.
According to police, Rex Heuermann seems to be particularly skilled at leading a double life. He's been a long-standing husband and father, and now his family's life has been completely upended.
He's been married to Asa Ellerup since 1996. They met when they were teenagers, and they stayed in touch, even though they got married to other people. From what you know, they got married in Iceland.
At the wedding in Iceland.
Has she given you any indication about whether she was happy in her marriage?
She has. I think they were, any marriage after that time period, you hit certain lulls.
I feel very badly for Rex's family, for his wife and children. Their life will never be the same again.
The couple shared a daughter, Victoria, and raised Asa's son, Christopher. They were all living in the same home Heuermann grew up in. And the question on everyone's mind is, what did the family think?
We know that Victoria, Rex's daughter, did work for him for a period of time in his office.
She was still at the front desk. You really wanted her, to stay focused on the work.
The public has convicted their father yet. I think they're looking to reserve judgment until they actually can see and hear what actual physical evidence there may not be.
After Rex Heuermann's arrest, his defense attorney, Michael Brown, describes his client's reaction.
We're looking forward to fighting this case in a court of law, not in the court of press. In terms of speaking to my client, the only thing I can tell you that he did say as he was in tears was, "I didn't do this."
Authorities say they have compelling evidence against Heuermann. It's a pretty unimaginable scenario. Learning that your father is charged with being a serial killer. One person who knows what that upheaval is like is Carrie Rawson. And she's watched this all play out on TV, having been there before herself.
Your whole life is being disrupted, and you're constantly trying to process it, and you're verbally having to process it with people.
Carrie's father, Dennis Rader, came up with his own moniker, BTK, which stands for Bind, Tortured, and Killed.
From 1974 to 1991, he murdered 10 people.
In late July of 2023, from prison, Dennis Rader claims he notices similarities between him and suspect Rex Heuermann, saying he's a clone.
Nothing in his victim profile is like Dennis Rader's victim profile. So there are significant differences, and certainly the clone comment doesn't really apply.
You're very angry from a trauma standpoint and grief. It's too much for you to process internally.
Victoria, Christopher, and Asa are already distancing themselves from Rex Heuermann.
Asa Ellerup has filed for divorce from Rex Heuermann. She filed very quickly.
When Asa filed for divorce, I was so proud of her. She's signaling like, I'm in charge, I'm in control.
Many people would ask how you could be married to somebody for 20 plus years and not know something.
She hasn't expressed any of that. Police commissioner has come out and said she's not a suspect and her accomplice, and they've actually said she was out of the jurisdiction when these alleged homicides took place. Like I said, if they happened, it was a complete double life that her husband lived.
But there were others who say they felt uneasy around Rex Heuermann.
I know I went to dinner with the Gilgo Beach Killer. I can tell you, I've never been scared like that before, ever.
Tonight, after more than a decade of terrorizing quiet communities on Long Island, police say the Gilgo Beach serial killer is a suburban dad and architect charged with murdering women he secretly solicited for sex.
After Rex Heuermann's arrest makes national headlines, tips and details begin to pour in, including how he allegedly met his victims. Investigators included these images in court documents. They're selfies which Heuermann allegedly took, which authorities say he then posted online to search for escorts. In the days after the news breaks, a former escort named Nikki Brass comes forward to share her story on TikTok.
I'm so glad I trusted my gut and got the hell out of there. I saw it online. And right when I saw his picture, I was like, oh my God, I knew it. If I had said yes to him, I don't think I'd be here right now.
Nikki Brass is 34 now and trying to make a career as a hair and makeup stylist. But years ago, she worked as an escort and says she met Rex Heuermann after he responded to one of her ads online.
I connected with Rex Heuermann in the summer of 2015. I'm not sure which site he found me on. He contacted me through one of them. We started messaging. Typically, I wouldn't meet anyone for less than around 1,000 at the time. He did tell me that he was an architect. He did worked in Manhattan. Initially, he didn't want to meet me in a public place, so I asked him if he would meet me at the steam room in Port Jefferson. He didn't really want to, and then he finally caved and said, fine, I'll meet you there. We met by the door. His size was definitely intimidating. We sat down, and we talked briefly about what he did, and then he asked if I like true crime. I do, I love it. We talked about a few different serial killers, and we got onto the topic of Robert Hansen. That was the one he was most interested in.
In the 70s, Robert Hansen was a baker and a family man living in Anchorage, Alaska. But the dark side of Hansen's double life was something straight out of a horror movie.
He would pick up women when his wife was away, take them to his house, rape them, and in some cases take them out to the wilderness to kill.
It didn't set me off when we talked about the other killers. What got me was when he said, have you heard of the Gilgo Beach killings? That's when the alarm bells started going off, because he wasn't talking like a true crime fan. He was talking as if he was remembering it and reliving it, and almost as if he was like enjoying it. Specifically, I remember him saying, how do you think they got rid of the bodies? And I said, I couldn't even begin to tell you. And he goes, well, what if they shredded through the marsh with camouflage burlaps? They'd probably go very unnoticed. To me, that was really weird. He was like, well, they're just like prostitutes or whores anyway. It's not like the killer's out killing people that matter all that much. But then he'd be like, but don't worry, I don't mean like you. I mean, you have goals and things you want to do. Don't think I'm talking about you like that.
That wasn't exactly reassuring to her. Nikki says the conversation takes a dark turn and she begins to look for a way out.
Towards the end, when he asked if I was going to come back to his place with him, I wanted to try to be polite about it. So I was like, listen, it's a really far drive, it's dark. he got agitated and he was like, well, I wouldn't want you to take your car anyway. Get in my car with me. Then informs me he lives by Gilgo Beach. There was no way I was going with him. He just shook my hand and left. But you could tell he was mad that I wasn't willing to go with him. I never once, as an escort, feared for my life except for on that date. I've never been scared like that before, ever. I had a friend meet me in the parking lot of the steam room to watch and make sure I got to my car okay. I told everybody who would listen that I know I went to dinner with the Gilgo Beach killers, that I knew it. And people are like, well, why didn't you go to police? Why didn't you go to police? Well, first of all, I'm on probation. I'm gonna walk in, admit to committing a crime, and then have police contact. I would get sent right back to prison.
ABC News reached out to Rex Heuermann's attorney for comment on Nikki Brass's claims. He declined.
Nikki's story has a happy ending. She's building a new career for herself, and she's a mom of 4.
I love what I do. Seeing somebody look in the mirror and feel beautiful. For me, that's the best part of it.
New developments in the Gilgo Beach murders. The investigation expanding
to include Heuermann's property, both in South Carolina and Las Vegas, Nevada. Remember that key piece of evidence for investigators, that green Chevy Avalanche?
Police seizing this older model Chevrolet Avalanche at Heuermann's vacant lots in Chester County, South Carolina. The same kind of vehicle that an eyewitness told police he saw before one of the victims disappeared.
Police in these areas are asking, are there more buried bodies to be found? And so they're now analyzing all of their cold cases.
What about all those other bodies also discovered in the marsh? As for Shannon Gilbert's family, they say they still don't know what happened to her that night back in 2010.
The attorney for Shannon Gilbert's family hires a forensic pathologist to do an independent autopsy.
He reports that Shannon's death was consistent with homicide.
Authorities say they have likely found the woman's remains, 24-year-old Shannon Gilbert.
It was Shannon Gilbert's disappearance that led police to the discovery of the women now known as the Gilgo 4. But more than a decade later, her family still has big questions about how she died.
The medical examiner in Shannon Gilbert's case ruled that her cause of death was inconclusive, undetermined.
It does sound like the most outrageous coincidence. After all, it was the search for Shannon Gilbert that led to the first of those gruesome discoveries.
My condolences go out to the family, but it's unfortunate. But right now, we believe it was just a horrible accident.
You stand by the investigators' conclusion that she was not connected to this case?
I do.
Hello? Do you need the police?
Remember, before she ends up in that marsh, she calls 911 for help.
Somebody after somebody is harassing you? After me. Who? No, stop it, please. Stop it, please.
She was definitely in trouble. She wanted to act like that just for no reason. Yeah, she was in trouble.
There's security cameras out here, but they never got the surveillance videotape from them.
The police never came for the security cameras for many days, and in the meantime, they got erased.
According to court documents, those security camera tapes were routinely recorded over.
The police suggest that Shannon was hysterical, that she ran into the marsh because she could see on the other side of the marsh the lights of the highway.
I'm told that the marsh can actually be more like a lake when it's holding a lot of water. So, if the water would have been very cold, she could have become hypothermic going in there.
Her pants and her purse were found at some distance from where police found her body. Why would she be so far from her belongings?
I believe that Shannon was murdered.
The family continues to have lingering questions about exactly how Shannon died.
The attorney for Shannon Gilbert's family hires a forensic pathologist to do an independent autopsy.
His name is Dr. Michael Budd. He reports that Shannon's death was consistent with homicide and inconsistent with natural causes.
They hired a pathologist who concluded the opposite of what investigators had said. Does that change your view, potentially?
Not at all. I'm not going to get into a debate with John Ray. My investigators have ruled this investigation as a horrible accident.
To this day, the family still doesn't know why Shannon was so agitated and why she wound up in the marsh.
We may never really know what happened to Shannon.
We came to this place at this moment in Shannon's yet unfinished calamity to comfort her family.
Mary Gilbert died in 2016, never fully accepting the police version of what happened to her daughter or knowing how the case of the Gilgo Beach murders would be resolved. But her fierce fight in the search for her daughter may very well lead to justice for other families.
Mary had a growing devotion to her daughter. I think there's a core love for her daughter she always had. And like any mother, she cared. She saw her daughter as a hero in the sense that her life and her sad ending at least had a value to it that went beyond herself.
This arrest would not have happened in July of this year if it hadn't been for Shannon Gilbert.
It was because of her that all of this evil was uncovered. She is the unintentional hero of this story, and that's what I hope people remember about her.
Authorities are building their case against Rex Heuermann and tell us they're still combing through the evidence. Right now, we're talking about these 3, now maybe 4 victims. What about the others then?
As of September 2023, Rex Heuermann has pleaded not guilty to charges that he murdered 3 women: Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, and Amberlynn Costello.
Heuermann has not been charged in the death of Maureen Brainerd Barnes because there just is not enough evidence right now that prosecutors have, but they've made it clear that they expect that to come soon.
I believe that the lab work, once it comes back, is going to attach that 4th unfortunate body that was discovered on Ocean Parkway to Rex Heuermann.
But remember, in addition to the Gilgo 4, 6 other bodies were discovered in the same area. 4 more women, a man, and a toddler.
What about the others then? How much progress are you able to make in those cases at this stage?
We still have some work to do regarding getting these individuals identified. That's why this task force is going to stay in place. We'll continue to investigate the other bodies that were discovered on Ocean Parkway.
Rex Heuermann's attorney declined to comment when asked if his client was involved in the deaths of Maureen Brainerd Barnes or others found along Ocean Parkway. He tells ABC News in part, quote, "In a court of law, what's required is evidence and proof beyond a reasonable doubt. We look forward to defending this case in a court of law." I think the Gilgo 4 case helped put a face on victims in a way that few serial killer cases do.
These women were mothers, sisters, friends, and we need to remember that they are real people with real memories, with real childhoods.
You could meet Megan the first time and you'd fall right in love with her.
Melissa was just beautiful all the way around.
Amber was just full of love and life. She just loved life. Always there for her loved ones. Will move heaven and earth to help them.
Maureen's personality was very bubbly. She literally and figuratively would give anyone a shirt off their back. I love you, I miss you, Maureen.
Me and the other victims' families, we're one big family now. Not by blood. We were bought as a family by tragedy.
Ready, let's go!
People have tried to sort of
कुड़िए बलस गिए तेरी टोर मस्तानी है बस सूट तेरो सत रंग गो सूट तेरो सत रंग गो तेरी चढ़ती जुबानी है वो सूट तेरो सत रंग गो बलस गिए तेरी बायां विच बंग सोबे वो अखां विच सुरमो तेरे अखां विच सुरमो तेरे हाथ मेहंदी गो रंग सोबे वो कुड़िए बलस गिए विच डोर सोनी लौंग तेरो दूर चमके लौंग तेरो दूर चमके बाकी तेरी टोर सोनी बकुड़ी बलस गिए सुन गए कड़ी पल तिना देखता रहनो वे कुड़ी बलस गिए जलमत सामने आ जावे वो कुड़ी बलस गिए जियो सुनो फुल कोई नी वो दुनिया माला कीमत तेरो किते भी मुल कोई नी वो कुड़ी बलस गिए